Welcome to Vaughn's Futureproof Focus podcast, where we explore topics related to college affordability, diversity, and career growth in STEM and aviation.
Hey everybody, we're thrilled today to have Dr. Doug Jahnke, Assistant Professor in the Engineering and Technology Department, join today's podcast to discuss our engineering certificate programs, including our newest one in programmable logic control, or PLC, and robotic automation. Welcome, Doug.
Good morning.
So just to get started, tell us a little bit about your background, what you teach, the areas that you're really passionate about. Tell us about you.
Sure thing. So engineering is actually a second career for me. Back in the day, I worked corporate in print production. So I worked on things like catalogs and store signage and worked for J.Crew and a company called Dealey's at one point. And then I decided to go back to school for engineering and went to City College and went all the way for a PhD. So I guess I enjoyed that. So I've been at Vaughn since spring of 2018. And I'm a solids guy. So my classes I teach are things like statics and dynamics, mechanics and materials, machine design. And actually that is good because my passion is in the fundamentals. I think one of the most important things we do is, when someone takes engineering courses or gets an engineering degree, that's their chance to get the fundamentals, understand the underlying ideas and principles of engineering and learn to think like an engineer. They then go out and become a deep specialist in some particular area. But here's their chance to get that broad understanding that underpins, everything they're going to do.
Yeah, could you talk a little bit more about the engineering mindset, which I know is really one of those foundation pieces that carries students and then professionals, throughout their lives. Even when they get out of engineering, they still tend to have that engineering mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. There's an underlying theme in all the courses, right? Learning to think like an engineer, as we call it. And the idea is it's that problem solving mindset. It's how do I take what I know and solve problems that I don't know? Because nobody needs you to solve things that are already solved, right? We need you to go out there and solve things we don't have solutions for. And that means starting where you are with the knowledge you have and extending it out somewhere. And like you said, that kind of mindset in any field is hugely valuable. And you see it too, because many industries, like if you have an engineering degree, they're like, oh, that sounds great, even if it's not particular to, that field.
So thinking about, some of the fields that are emerging or particularly hot at the moment, can you talk about some of those? Where do you see students getting positions and where do you see this headed?
That, to me, that's always such a huge challenge because everything moves so fast. And, obviously we're in a highly developed technologically kind of time frame. But it's really hard to predict exactly which particular areas are going to explode next. I mean, we've seen, back in the day, computers exploded and software, and now we've got AI growing and things like that. And it's like, yeah, I think what I like to talk to students about is, if you learn to learn, right, and you learn to think like an engineer, then whatever happens, in the future, you're well prepared, and it gives you that flexibility because you could look at the job listings for today or tomorrow, but they change so fast.
Yeah. Well, and I know one of the things that we talk about quite a bit is this idea of lifelong learning. And you said it in terms of learning to learn, right? All the time, continuing to stay curious because things are changing so quickly that there's no way we're going to be able to teach everything that you're going to need in 10 years, right? We don't even know what that is in some cases. And so you're going to have to continue to learn on your own or go back to school or, yeah. Terrific.
Exactly. And if I give you the tools to learn new things, that goes a long way. Because how do you approach a new problem? How do you find the information? Where do you go look? And, so to me, like personally, as a kind of my passion, it really kind of lies in that area.
Mm-hmm. Well, terrific. Let's talk about some of the certificate programs that we've developed that particularly speak to this idea of continuous learning. And our newest one, Programmable Logic Control and Robotic Automation Certification, that offers employment in just 2 semesters and possibly a taste of an engineering career that you might want to come back for later. Can you just talk about, what PLC and robotic automation really is, and why is it so relevant?
Absolutely. First, I just want to give a shout out to the PI on this project, Sholing He. It was her original idea looking into this, that there's a need for technicians for things like PLCs. A programmable logic controller, it's the brain, it's the computer, right? Just like the computer on your desk controls some hardware, like you might have a printer, you might have a scanner, you got a camera. Um, PLCs specialize in controlling hardware and reading sensors. So let's say you have a production line, and you'll have PLCs doing different tasks. And like a very simple thing might be a conveyor belt, where does the package go left or right? So you have a PLC that takes the data from the sensor, maybe it's a barcode scanner, it interprets that and then sends the signal to the actuator that pushes this package in the direction it's going. So it's kind of fundamental at that level, controlling the actual functioning of the system. And then what's kind of cool is like, larger developed organizations, then they start networking these systems. So you have a bunch of these kind of mini brains networked back to your larger system, which is kind of your big brain. And then you can modify and control your whole system. And, you know, again, on the more sophisticated level, then you start integrating, if you can integrate some learning, where you take the inputs from these, the results from how things have went, and then start analyzing your data and improving your algorithms for how these things function.
So, could you give some specific examples, like, companies or types of automation where, I mean, you just talked about a package. Baggage came to mind. It's very similar, right? It's got to go to a different aircraft. But, what are some less obvious things that we might not even think about that would use the same kind of skill sets?
Part of our whole kind of angle on this is, since we're in the New York area, people think PLCs, immediately they think of manufacturing because they've been used there for a while. A bit of our angle is like, well, in New York, we have a lot of service industries. And more of this automation is in the service industries. And something like baggage handling, like you mentioned, falls under that category. And so that's a big area, automating things like baggage handling. Um, we got a bunch of Amazon warehouses around here that falls under our service industry, and they use a lot of automation in sorting and loading packages and all that sort of thing. Another area, the medical industry, is moving hugely into automation, and everything from pharmacy to, well, there's robotic surgery now, and all these systems, they have the people who use them and program them. That's usually the engineers. But then there's people who have to connect them and maintain them and make sure they're working. And that's who we're looking at, the technician level that actually keeps things running.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us a flavor of what's included in the certificate program?
So what we're doing in the certificate program is, since it is a short, it's highly focused on actual practical hands-on application. So we get them actually working with the PLCs. We have both the Siemens and the Rockwell Automation, which are two of the biggest PLC names and most common ones out there. So they'll actually work on troubleshooting and problem solving with the actual PLCs. And then, around that, specific, like we have theories of robotics and, how robots interact with things, and a little bit on just general technician level hardware handling, like using different tools and whatnot, a brief introduction in that. And then, of course, motor control, because a lot of what the PLCs are doing, as well as actuators and things like that, they control motors.
So what's the career pathway look like upon completion of the certificate program?
Well, the idea is they can jump right in at technician level, and there's of course, there'd be a normal advancement through staying in technician, become a senior technician manager or something. But the other thing we've done that we think is really appealing is we've integrated it closely with our degree programs and made it so the credits are transferable into if you want to go on to get particularly a mechatronics degree, get a bachelor's degree or associate's degree. So there's upward mobility kind of in both channels there.
Mm-hmm. So if you feel like this is something that you really enjoy and you want to take it to the next level, you could apply it into a engineering program.
Absolutely. And, go to that next level where,
Mm-hmm.
you're developing the actual programming and things like that
Mm-hmm.
to like figure out the algorithms for how these things operate. Yeah, it's a great path.
And what kind of input did we get from and are we continuing to get from industry to help us know that this is the right program for the right moment?
Yeah, we worked with it's called a BILT team, Business and Industry Leadership Team, and this is a concept that's come out of some people that work in the ATE program, Advanced Technology Education. So we brought together people in industry when we were developing like the curriculum and stuff and asked them what's important, right? Knowledge, skills, and abilities. They call them KSAs. And so we got industry input on those and we had them help us rank them so that, right from the development, we had plenty of industry input and to allow us to tailor so they come out with the skills they need. And then hopefully, of course, our longer term goal is then those industry partners can work with us to provide opportunities for our graduates.
Right, exactly. Terrific. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the other engineering certificates specifically that can be done in 2 semesters. So we've got CNC manufacturing, composite manufacturing, computer-aided design, and uncrewed aerial systems, among others. What do you see the benefits of these kind of certificates? And who should be thinking about certificate programs? Kind of goes back to where we started, but go ahead.
Well, to me, the first appeal is someone who wants to get in, get out, and get a job, right? And lots of people don't really have kind of the, should I say, luxury of being able to devote, say, 4 years or whatever to getting a full degree. They need to get to work. So here's a shorter term option, and you can get decent jobs here, right? You're stepping up to the technician level, train level, that sort of thing with a particular skill. And so there's that level, but there's also, in our current age where people look to differentiate themselves, even if you have, say, an engineering degree, also having experience in something like CNC or PLCs or composites, right? Having that hands-on experience can be real attractive to many employers. I mean, fundamentally, engineers are still about, you're supposed to be doing the computation and figuring out, is this going to work before you touch anything? And but you hear it sometimes that, well, engineers haven't paid attention to the practical aspect. So I think there's a certain appeal when an engineer has also got some hands-on experiences, can make you more attractive.
Yeah, I mean, could you see, somebody who's sort of mid-career taking something like an uncrewed aerial systems certificate to enhance something they might be doing at their firm, right? So it's not just necessarily, do it in 2 semesters and get into the field. It could be that when you went to school, they didn't have their drones didn't exist yet, right?
Yeah, that's an excellent example. And because, like, to your earlier question, this is a new field, right? And we actually had someone come in either last week or the week before, and he went to Vaughn, and he now works for a large power company. And the number of drones they've implemented into their inspection procedures is just mind blowing. So yeah, if you were, let's say you're at this company and you like see drones exploding in usage, it's like, come get your certificate. That could be you on that kind of leading edge growth area. Um, and yeah, you tack it on, and now you have this whole new area of expertise that's hugely in demand. Just think about it for a second. Just, you know, back before they'd say you have to climb up a pole, look around, come back down, get their tools, climb back up. Climbing is dangerous, right? And it takes time. Whereas if they just fly the drone, oh, it looks okay. We don't have to climb. And that was kind of a main point. And there's just all these areas where people are going to figure out, well, what else can we use drones for, etc. And that's exciting. And I think that's where, as an add-on to, like you said, someone who's even mid-career or wherever in their career, it still can be hugely beneficial.
Yeah, and can you talk? I mean, you said it a little bit with the built the leadership group that helps specifically with the PLC and robotics automation certificate, but can you talk in general about how Vaughn stays on top of these trends and figures out how to develop the next certificate and decide, where industry is headed?
The build team was specific to our certificate. We also have in Vaughn's Industry Advisory Committee, which has regular contact with the engineering department and to get their input and feedback. And so that sort of industry feedback, kind of more structured, but also too, all of our, say, faculty in their areas of expertise as part of staying on top of what's going on in the field. We can see these opportunities, and that helps us notice where we might have growth, and then we can talk to some of these partners and make sure we stay up to date. And like with the aerial, we offered the program to get I forget the certificate name, but
part 107.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so working closely with the FAA and things like that keeps us up to speed, I think, quite well.
Yeah, it's one of the great advantages of Vaughn is our industry connections, right, and our ability to understand where things are headed and to be responsive to the market. Yeah, terrific. All right, so Doug, this is a little off topic, but I ask everybody this question who's on the podcast. What's the most daring thing you've ever done, and how did you talk yourself into it?
Yeah, I think it's probably, I grew up in Minnesota, and so at some point I moved to New York City. And that, I think, in hindsight, at the time, I don't know if I was sure, that may have been one of the most daring things I did, because I came out here, it's like over 25 years ago now? Been a while. And when I came out, I didn't have a job out here. I didn't even have a place to live. I had a friend, right, that, I stayed with them for a while, but I didn't know there's no way to get an apartment without having a job. So I got an apartment without having a job because I didn't know any better. And then, I got a job, and, the way things went, it's like it was kind of confirmed as a good decision. But, at the time I came out to New York, I thought, oh, this is awesome. I want to try this. And I went for it. So, I think it was a little bit a lack of overanalyzing that allowed me to make that jump. That was kind of objectively maybe not fully thought through, but it's worked out great. I love New York City, being out here, and yeah, it was quite a change too. And I remember one thing, New York is expensive. We all know this, but my rent exactly doubled for a slightly smaller apartment. So that was a shocker too.
Yeah. Well, but it does speak to the things that you've really talked about today, which is this, curiosity that you have and this problem solving mentality, right? This is, I think early on you were destined to be an engineer, whether you knew it or not, right? So terrific. Well, thank you. I mean, we've covered a lot of ground today. But particularly focused on engineering certificates are a great way to get the credentials you need to join the workforce quickly in high demand fields or to add to your current credentials. We're currently enrolling for spring, so feel free to visit vaughn.edu for more information to apply. Thank you, Doug. Thank you. And
Thank you.
excited about the opportunities that are ahead for us in the engineering and technology space. Have a great day. Have a question? Email us at futureprooffocus@vaughn.edu. And don't forget to subscribe, follow, and rate the podcast. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.